Hier ist Logan Flint mit einem Mann, der aus seinen scharfen kulturellen und sozialen Beobachtungen ein Stand-up-Programm gemacht hat, das er heute in der Faust aufführen wird und selber als bitchy, sassy, very gay und very satirical beschreibt. Hier ist Daniel Ryan Spaulding. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Nico. Thanks for having me on your show.
Tell us in your own words who you are and what you're doing these days.
Well, my name is Daniel Ryan Spaulding. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm originally from Canada, but I've lived in Europe for 12 years. And I am currently doing a German tour of my new show, which is called Power Gay. I just released my last show on YouTube. It's called So Berlin, and that show was about me like living in Berlin during the pandemic and about coming out of that experience and my last couple of years living in Europe. This show is more about the past year of my life, which has been very transformative. I've lost an incredible amount of weight. I lost 100 kilos, and I got sober, and I really got into a really healthy, empowered state in my life and sort of discovered my power as a gay man. So that's kind of what the show is about. It's fun, it's campy, it's a little dirty, but it's also inspirational.
So that's also where the show's name is coming from, Power Gay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so I'm here in Hanover. This is my third show on the tour.
And do you have any other shows in Germany before? This is your very first German tour?
No, I've performed in Germany quite a bit. I've lived in Berlin for the past 5 years. So I perform mainly in Berlin, but I have performed all throughout the country over the years, living in Europe, doing stand-up comedy here. And last year I did, I think it was a 6-city tour or 7, but yeah, it's a little more extensive this time. This is a 10-city tour.
In an older interview, you said that you left Canada due to the lack of cultural offerings, which you found in Europe, apparently. Now that you almost finished your tour through Germany, did you get any new impressions?
No, I agree with that statement that I made. Canada is very boring. It's like for people that like nature and the outdoors. And also you have to understand, too, we're a population of like 25 million or 30 million, and we're spread out over the entire continent. So it's very difficult to tour within Canada. We're not so densely populated with so many urban centers. And honestly, like the whole comedy scene there is very like folksy. It's very like, I'm Canadian. It's very like, it's like comedy for like farmers and hockey players. It's very, it's not my thing. I like living in Europe. I'm happy here. And I just got a visa to be able to work in the United States. So I'm building up my fan base in New York and performing quite a bit in New York.
So Daniel, you're not doing this kind of goofy comedy, but rather observational comedy, right? Like very like pointy. And this is a thing you can probably also apply in your new home in New York, right? So you moved to New York after you've been in Berlin. Why did you leave Berlin, first of all?
Well, I haven't left yet. I'm going back and forth. I do hope that one day I'll be able to fully live in New York. I hope that my career will be at that level. But New York is also a very expensive city. So I'm sort of going back and forth right now. And I kind of want to maintain home both in New York and Europe. I kind of see myself living more in like a multiverse. But in New York, you do have to be a little careful about being too critical because people are very proud of living in New York and it costs a lot of money to live there and people work really hard to be able to live there. So they're very proud of living there. But there are different ways to be sort of critical and satirical in a way that isn't maybe as harsh as I might be on the Germans. Germans like getting made fun out of.
Yeah, and also Hanover as a city, because Hanover is often the butt of jokes about its averageness. Did you notice anything about that?
I have heard that, and it's not the most shocking thing to hear. I do. It's nice. It's totally fine here. I don't know exactly. I'm still discovering the city, so maybe I'll find the thing that makes it special. Or maybe the thing that makes it special is that it's average.
I often find that the most interesting cultural things in art tend to push the envelope in these more alternative, wild, open-minded places of a city. What kind of connection do you think exists between these mindsets and progressive culture?
I think that's a great idea. I do think that Berlin did offer that to me in terms of doing stand-up there, that so many artists live there and so many creative people, because sometimes my comedy does become a little surreal and imaginative. I think that the flip side to that would be with progressiveness and liberalism and open-mindedness, there can be sort of a bit of a hatred of freedom of speech and pushing the envelope in terms of saying taboo things or things that maybe aren't necessarily politically correct. So it's sort of a double-edged sword in that regard. But I think that for the most part, people can tell if you are being authentic with what you're saying. With stand-up, it's very much a live, intimate experience. So you have to understand the whole context of a performance and the fact that this is sort of a free speech zone. When you go into a stand-up show, we're leaving polite society behind and we're sort of agreeing, okay, we're going to talk shit. We're going to be maybe a little nasty or a little cruel, or we're going to say things we wouldn't normally say. And so if you're an open-minded person, you probably will get that and appreciate that. But there's also people that try to, attack others or take things that someone might have said out of context to try to attack their character or, gain social capital through that. So that's something that I also have noticed and something that I'm thoughtful of in terms of my stand-up and doing it for a more liberal, queer sort of community.
Nice. The first time I saw you was in 2020, where you played a fake CNN host on the ZDF Magazin Royale during the election of the CDU Parteivorsitz, which was fucking hilarious. How did this came to be?
Well, I had been doing a lot of content during the first part of the pandemic in the spring. I did a video every day. And so my videos had kind of gotten very popular during that time. And I had a lot of followers in Germany. And Olli Schulz, who does a podcast with Jan Böhmermann, had already been a fan of mine. And he was sort of championing me. And so the head writer of the show had gotten in touch with me, and we had a meeting to do some sort of guest appearance. And they had come up with the idea on the second episode of the new series when they had switched from ZDF Neo to the main ZDF. And it was really fun because I was able to put my own spin on it. I co-wrote the sketch. Both sketches that I did. And what was fun about the sketch too, they sort of thought it would be funny to have this CNN commentator and the action of, that fast-paced CNN news, but for something as boring as the CDU leadership. And they thought it would be funny, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper with it. So I sort of made the character, because a lot of the CNN anchors are gay, like Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper. So I kind of wanted to play with that and have the character, as he's talking about the different politicians, I would have him kind of get sexually turned on and excited. And then he'd sort of have to stop himself and, calm down because he'd get so excited talking about, whoever it was. What was the guy? The guy who
I think that was Norbert Röttgen.
Yeah,
right?
Norbert Röttgen. Yeah. Yeah, Norbert Röttgen, such a Dom Top Daddy or whatever.
Stopp, kurze Klarstellung. Norbert Röttgen wurde nicht als Dom Top Daddy bezeichnet. Ich wiederhole, Norbert Röttgen wurde nicht als Dom Top Daddy bezeichnet. Das war Friedrich Merz.
So I like to play with I really like characters that are playing with characters that are sort of a little bit extreme and excessive. That's always really fun for me.
Are there any future plans for collaboration that you can talk about?
Well, I would love to be back on the show. I would love to. I actually saw Jan Böhmermann at the grocery store in Cologne 2 weeks ago. I was in Cologne shooting videos, and I just happened to be at this Rewe. I just finished having some sushi, and I turned and I saw him, and he was wearing sunglasses and a hat, and I just saw his profile for a second, and I just knew it was him, and I said, Jan. And he turned around and he like took his sunglasses and his hat off, and he was like, oh my God, is that you? Because he hadn't seen me since I lost all this weight. And we hadn't spoken in, I guess, 2 years since I had been on the show last. And it was really nice because I never knew exactly what had happened in terms of why I wasn't back on the show. I had really enjoyed the experience, but I think they wanted to take the show in a different direction and focus a little more on the journalistic aspect, because they already had writers on the show doing comedy sketches. So I think it just sometimes in the TV industry, it just doesn't end up being the right fit. So seeing him, and he was really happy to see me, and we had a nice chat, and we took photos, and he was really supportive, and he talked about my tour on the most recent episode of Fest and Flauschig, or Flauschig. And so it was really nice to have that resolution. Sometimes when you have unresolved issues with people, it was just nice to know that we were in a good place and there was no weird hard feelings or anything. So I'm definitely open to whatever might come my way. I also I'm going to still be working in Germany, so it's not as if I'm going to be leaving forever. I do videos with Till Reiners, and Oli Schulz is a good friend of mine, and a lot of the German comedians have been very nice to me. So I'm always here and I'm always open.
Okay, Daniel, thanks a lot for this interview, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you. I'm excited to explore Linden. It seems very funky and hip. I gotta say, walking here from the tram, I did get a contact high from everyone smoking pot in the park. But I like all the graffiti and this whole complex is really interesting. And I'm excited to do my show at Faust tonight. So hopefully I discover all the secrets you have here in Hanover.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.